An entitled Karen pushes down an old lady and runs off with her bag containing thousands of dollars worth of merchandise as well as the newest gaming console of the time. And as a result, this entitled Karen got arrested and spent over a year in jail. Here's what happened. So about 18 years ago, I worked at the main video game retailer in the United Kingdom. It wasn't a bad job overall, but just like anything where you have to deal with the general public, it came with some pretty horrible moments. This one was early December when the Xbox 360 first came out. Like most console launches, we were running on a pre-order only system. The last stock we received had been reserved by customers with a small deposit. Because the launch was in December, the Xbox was the must-have Christmas gift, and it made people go a little bit insane. I think anyone who has had to deal with pre-orders at retail knows where this is going. Our store opened at 9 o'clock a.m. We couldn't do a midnight launch as the store was within a complex that was locked from 10 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock a.m. each day. The first thing we see once the complex opens is a woman sprinting up to our door and frantically pulling on the handles. We let her know through the doors that we don't open until 9 o'clock a.m. At this point, she's fairly reasonable. She says okay and decides to wait. Over the next 15 minutes, a small line forms behind her of people here for their consoles. As you probably expected, she did not have a pre-order. Her response to finding out that she couldn't buy an Xbox was to not only scream at us, but to also threaten that she was going to trading standards and she was going to yell about false advertising. And eventually, she started screaming about how she's going to go to our competitor just to buy one from them out of spite, since they apparently have some decency. But what this entitled Karen didn't know was that this console was on pre-order only, and this was happening everywhere, so we knew she wasn't going to have any success over there either. About an hour later, this entitled Karen comes back to the store, and we're all just braced for impact of what she's gonna do. But much to everybody's surprise, she just starts browsing as if nothing happened. We did not realize what she was up to until one of the latecomers comes to pick up their console. As soon as they left the counter and headed for the door, the entitled Karen dashed over to them and started to talk to them. We didn't know what she was doing at first, but it turns out this entitled Karen was offering to buy the console off of the other customer at an elevated price. The woman she spoke to wasn't interested in the slightest. She was an older woman and had one of those wheelie shopping bags that every other older woman in England seems to have. And it was right about then that this entitled Karen really messed up. Not taking no for an answer, she suddenly pushed this older woman, grabbed the bag, and ran. And when she did that, I was honestly shocked, as I seriously never expected anybody to go to this extent just to grab the newest console of the time. When this entitled Karen did this, we were all in shock, but thankfully she didn't get far, because we always had a security guard on watch, especially when it comes to launch days. She got about 20 feet out of the store before they grabbed her and brought her back in. When they called the police, we were all kind of expecting and hoping that she would be arrested for theft, like all the times we had to ring about shoplifters. But that is not what happened. In fact, what happened to her was much, much worse. It turns out that the woman this entitled Karen stole from had done other Christmas shopping that morning. She had bought jewelry, other small electronics, all sorts of things. The goods in her bag totaled to over £2,000. And because this entitled Karen had pushed her over just to get the bag off of her, it was now officially a robbery, not a theft. And this was robbery for a relatively high value of goods too. It may not sound like a big distinction, but legally it is pretty massive. We were told by the security guard later on, who heard it from the arresting officer, that she was able to get the charge reduced to a theft as long as she pleaded guilty. And as a result, this entitled Karen got 1 year in prison, as well as a period of supervision. So I hope it was worth it for this entitled Karen to spend a year in jail all over the Xbox 360. That entitled Karen was so out of line. Imagine you're in line trying to get this console that you pre-ordered, that you're so excited for, and you finally get your hands on it. And then out of nowhere, you not only have somebody trying to buy it from you at a higher price, but they also try to steal it from you in the process. I mean, how desperate and stupid can someone possibly get? Did this lady really think she would get away with that? I mean, I'm all about getting something new that you really enjoy and that you really want to have for your own. But to straight up steal it in front of all of these witnesses is seriously just the dumbest thing you could have done. So this entitled Karen really did have it coming. And hopefully the next time she goes shopping, she at least learns how to pre-order her stuff, because that is going to be so much better than the 1 year in jail she experienced that could have clearly been avoided if she had simply fought ahead. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. An entitled manager refuses to give me a refund, stating that it's their policy that once you walk out the door, you can no longer get a refund, but must instead get a voucher to buy more stuff. So I decided to maliciously comply, and I got revenge, and I've never been more satisfied with any result in my life. Here's what happened. So this happened in a large store in a European country. When you purchase something from them, and for any reason want to return the item, their policy is that they never give money back, and they only give you a voucher that's redeemable on the same day money only. So I went to the store today and I purchased a long list of items. I got home and my wife looks at them and says that we don't need some of them. I end up going back to the store and barely 20 minutes has passed. The returns manager smiles at me as I tell her that I had just purchased these things and would like to return them. She then tells me that I stepped out of the store, so she can't refund me now. She can only give me a voucher and I must buy something else. Now, I had already bought everything I needed. She then tells me to take the products home and keep them for the next time I would need to buy something. Then I can come and get the voucher and redeem it. So just imagine keeping a pair of shoes and a bowl, and remember to bring them with you the next time you happen to need something. I tried to reason, but she said adamantly, those are the rules. You stepped out of the store, you don't get a refund. And that is when it clicked. I asked her, so if someone was to return an item without leaving the store, they get the money back? And when she responded yes, I decided that some malicious compliance was definitely in order. I asked to return the items and get the voucher. I take the voucher, get inside the store, and I find a product with the exact same amount. I think you might know where this is going. I buy the item with the voucher, and right after the cashier, there's the return manager. I go straight from the cashier and I go to her. I hand her the random product that I just bought, and I say to her, I would like to return this. I don't want it and I never left the store. At this point, she is looking at me with barely any contained rage in her eyes. I kid you not. And the awkward pause we were both experiencing was only getting longer. And then her manager finally comes along. She looks at us and I smile at him. And I say, I never left the store and I would like to get a refund for this, please. He nods and motions to the return manager. Silently and not looking at me in the slightest, she proceeds to give me a refund in full. And you know what? If she does it like that, then she's just gonna have to deal with it because that's company policy. First off, it's crazy to me that you can't get a refund for items you bought. Like imagine you bought the wrong thing or you bought something that you just did not want. And the only thing they can give you is some kind of stupid voucher. I mean, what if you had an awful experience going to that place and you just wanted to get away and go somewhere else for your product? Or let's just say the product itself was in poor condition and you didn't want to go to that store again because you didn't want to have another product that just didn't work. That would make the voucher policy unbelievably frustrating and seriously not worth your time. But you know what? It looks like the original poster found a loophole that this store clearly did not account for. I don't think I've ever heard of any store giving out money back from a voucher, but you better believe they probably changed that policy after that day. So it's really cool to see that the original poster got their money back because that policy in and of itself is incredibly dumb, and it truly is unfair to make someone buy more items from a store that you didn't mean to buy things from in the first place. Today, I messed up by accidentally showing my employer an email confirming my new job, despite the fact that I have not given them notice yet, and now I'm so paranoid that they're all going to be treating me different, and now I seriously don't know what to do. So this morning, I accepted a job offer. It was a difficult decision because I enjoy my current job and I love my coworkers, but the new position is a better fit with the kind of work I want to be doing. I got an email from the recruiter this afternoon confirming my acceptance. Because I haven't signed a contract yet, I also haven't given my current employer my notice, and it's been a bit uncomfortable being at the office acting normal when I know I will be dropping this on them pretty soon. We are a small company, and I'm in a close-knit team of only 4 people. All of us are good at our jobs, and we are quite busy. My leaving will be unexpected and not great for the team, and I really do feel bad about it. Unfortunately for me, I now have an even better reason to feel bad. So this afternoon, I was in a meeting with my team, including my team lead and our manager, who is also the CEO and whom we all get along well with. We were brainstorming some design solutions, and my coworker mentioned that there's a feature in Gmail that was similar to what we wanted to achieve. I was already sharing my screen, so I logged into my personal email account without thinking about it first, and this is where I messed up. At the top were 2 unread emails, but below that in the read section, the email was the top one, with the subject job offer and the preview saying, "Thank you for accepting our offer. We're glad you want to join our company." I didn't realize until about 5 to 10 seconds in, when I immediately opened a new tab and tried to play it off. I am absolutely mortified. No one let on that they saw it, but if they did, and I think that's not unlikely, the email preview left absolutely zero doubt about what was going on. Now I'm really just hoping that my new employer will send me the contract tomorrow so I can sign it as soon as possible and give my notice first thing Monday morning, as well as apologizing profusely in case my boss saw it. I really do not want them to find out like this. In the meantime, I'm trying to laugh about this, otherwise I think I might cry. So hopefully you can at least be amused by my misery. Yeah, that's one of those miscalculations that you really just don't expect. You're already really excited about this job, and you're just trying to play it off until you get the contract in hand. And then you quite literally spill the beans all over the place and show your entire team that, yep, I'm gonna be leaving. That is a really rough way to find out, and honestly, I don't blame you for feeling embarrassed. But also, I think it's good to remember that people quit their jobs all the time. Like, it's not unusual for people to put their 2 weeks notice in and go somewhere else. And there could be any number of reasons why you're deciding to move forward, so I don't think you should be beating yourself up in the slightest. This is honestly just a part of life. And I think if you explain it properly, if someone really does have a problem with it, then they can hopefully understand that you know what, you have to do what's right for you. And if that means you gotta leave this company, well then so be it. An entitled father freaks out in a doctor's office after he had to wait 3 hours just to be seen. And in the process, he threw one of the biggest temper tantrums I've ever seen a grown adult throw in my life. Here's what happened. So back when I was in high school as a freshman, my mom and I went to the doctor's office to discuss how to treat my recently diagnosed acid reflux. And my mom and I were actually in the office waiting for the doctor to come in and talk to us. And everything was going well. That is until we heard the sound of raised voices. Being the nosy people that we were, we decided to step up and listen. It was a disgruntled father who was berating a nurse about how he and his daughter have been waiting to be seen for 3 hours. Now, if he did have an appointment, the anger would be understandable, but apparently his poor daughter had gotten sick at school, and the father had taken his daughter to be seen that day with no prior appointment. I get being frustrated, but there isn't much the nurse can do. Doctors' offices are busy, and if you don't have an appointment, you're gonna have to be waiting there for a while. This father was yelling at the nurse, repeating the words over and over again that they'd been waiting for 3 hours. He also said, I should not even be billed for this visit. The nurse tried to talk to the girl and asked her if she wanted some cookies, to which the poor girl tearfully said that she wanted to go home. And this was during the entire thing. My mom and I were looking at each other with wide eyes. At one point, the father even loudly said, this is absolutely ridiculous. Eventually, the doctor came out to de-escalate the situation. The father seemed to calm down just a little bit and told them that his priority is just to get his daughter treated and then taken home. After that, everything calmed down. I got my appointment done and then I took my leave. Now that was back in 2017 and I still remember it vividly. That was one of the worst temper tantrums I've ever seen, and it came from a fully grown adult with a kid. My father works in pediatrics and even he hasn't seen such childish behavior. Now don't get me wrong, I get that he was likely very stressed out due to the situation, but that doesn't mean that he gets to be verbally aggressive to a nurse who can't really do much. If I was the doctor and I saw that man being like that towards the nurse, he would have been asked to leave the office. Honestly, the person I feel the worst for is the daughter. She had just gotten sick and had to wait 3 hours to be seen, and then had to witness her father go into a massive temper tantrum, all because he didn't get his way. Well, to the dad, I'm fairly certain that your sick daughter is suffering more than you are, so maybe just a little bit of patience would really go a long way. The way that father was acting was completely out of line. To freak out like that on a nurse who has literally nothing to do with the schedule and cannot control when and where someone is seen is seriously inappropriate. But at the same time, I would have gone up to the front desk after an hour and said, hey, can you please fit my daughter in? I would not have waited until 3 hours later just to try and get something going. Like, that's not fair for your daughter, and that's not fair for you in the slightest. And I'm right there with the original poster. I can completely understand that they're stressed out because their kid is sick. Like, I get it. But the way you're acting is only making it worse. The least you can do is at least be calm and try and be somewhat reasonable. And I also agree with the original poster as well. If I was the doctor in that situation, I absolutely would have asked him to leave. You're not going to talk to people like that and expect any kind of service. And you know what? He can either wait in this doctor's office or go to the emergency room and wait 3 more hours to be seen. So in my opinion, I would rather wait those 3 hours and ensure that I'm seen in a relatively quick fashion instead of having to wait for several more hours in the emergency room for something that could be easily treated. An entitled customer gets angry at me after they order the wrong item on the menu. Here's what happened. So I work at a small local sushi restaurant as a waiter, and tonight I had one of those moments where I was unfairly blamed by a customer who ordered the wrong sushi. She came in, took around 10 minutes to decide on her order, and then says she wants the fresh tuna and the avocado medium roll, and she wants this all as takeaway. As fresh tuna is fairly uncommon from customers around our area, I checked with her twice, and both times she replied yes, even giving me an eye roll when I was confirming it for the second time. Anyways, she comes back with her little son later to pick up the order, and I read the items again before handing over her rolls following her confirmation. All was well until about 30 minutes later when she comes back saying she never ordered fresh tuna and that she ordered cooked tuna, saying her son doesn't eat raw fish. Now, since I was the one who confirmed it to her 3 different times, I told her, ma'am, with all due respect, I remember quite clearly how you said you want fresh tuna and not cooked tuna. I even checked with you 3 times, twice when you were ordering and once before you left. Before I could even finish my sentence, she starts going off on me. She says, no, I order cooked. I would never order fresh. Are you talking back to me? Do you want an argument? Are you really about to lose a customer for this ridiculous reason? When she said this, I was just lost for words, as I was actually planning on offering her a free replacement roll with cooked tuna, especially since this was for her little son. Anyways, after listening to her rant, I say to her, ma'am, I am more than happy to replace the roll for you. I was just pointing out that I checked with you 3 different times, and all of it with your confirmation. She then looks at me and says, well, are you trying to point the blame at me, that is unacceptable behavior, and you should never treat your customer that way. And right after she said that, she got up, took her son, and left. And while that encounter did basically ruin my day's mood, there was one table of two ladies dining in while that was happening. And when the takeaway lady left, they both turned to me and said, "It's not your fault. She is just an entitled jerk." Yeah, the customer in that situation is so unbelievably out of line. You confirmed with them 3 different times, "Is this what you want?" Like, you literally made sure and went out of your way to try and figure out if this is really what they were ordering. And they said yes every single time. So the original poster is absolutely not at fault. They didn't do anything wrong, and if anything, they did their job really well. They confirmed this order and tried to give the best customer service they possibly could, especially when you consider that this entitled Karen was just being unreasonable, and there literally was no reason for them to act like that in the slightest. My boyfriend, who I'd been dating, went missing in action for 3 nights in a row, all while he was on a business trip. And at this point, I'm furious, and I seriously don't know what to do. So I first want to say that my boyfriend is a surgeon, and he's on a mission trip to a third world country, and I'm aware that he's very busy, but I made it clear to him that it is important to me for him to check in once before bed every night with a text message. I get a lot of anxiety, and I am already on edge with this guy. Previously, I've caught him on dating apps. Even though he said he wasn't using them, I forgave him and then later found out he was actually flirting and talking around with other women on there. Anyways, for 3 nights in a row, he is completely unreachable while on the mission trip. On one of those nights, he told me that he was at a celebration at the organizer's house. He told me this the next morning, so that means that the entire night he was partying and ignoring my calls and text messages. He checked in quickly a few hours ago, which would be about 7 p.m. his time, and he said to me, "Sorry for not communicating enough, I'll bring you back a nice gift." I then asked him what he's doing the rest of the night, and he just left me on read. It is now 12 o'clock at night, and I can see that he's still up because he's online. And at that point, I just exploded. I sent a flurry of text messages, basically telling him that this is the scummiest thing that any guy has ever treated me, and that I've never had enough and that I can't take it anymore. At one point, he said he's working 18-hour shifts. I just don't know if I fully believe that though. And even if it is true, why is it so hard to send a quick text message before bed? I mean, everyone has to pop a piece of food in their mouth and brush their teeth before they lay down. Why not send a quick goodnight text? Do you think I'm overreacting about him being unreachable for 3 nights in a row on a business trip? I honestly just don't know. I just don't feel good of not knowing for 3 nights in a row where he is, as well as him just being unreachable altogether. I don't know if he's going to end up blocking me at this point because of all the messages that I've sent, but I'm basically at the point where I may just block him myself. This behavior is honestly so unacceptable, and I seriously don't know what to do. It really does seem kind of suspicious that your boyfriend, who has already previously been on dating apps, suddenly just goes missing in action for what, 3 days, and then doesn't respond in some kind of orderly fashion or in some kind of way to give you some kind of peace of mind. Like, seriously, that's not fair for you in the slightest. But in that same vein of thought, I don't think it would be right to go out of your way and make some kind of wild assumption about his actions without some kind of concrete evidence. That, in my opinion, would be really a bad thing to do, and it's just not going to be worth it. Because what if you're wrong? What if you make these horrible accusations and then suddenly he doesn't feel the same way about you? So hopefully he really was just unreachable in this foreign country and he wasn't doing anything nefarious, because that would honestly be disastrous towards your relationship and you truly would not deserve that. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.